everybody! Welcome, gunslingers, to another Eternal Deck Tech. This one for real. If you saw my Goose Game video, we did a minor little goof at the start of it. Thank you all so much for tuning in to all of the other things we've been doing recently. I super appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, but we're starting to get new sets of Eternal in, and I'm really excited to start playing around with some of that. But to recap first, what we want to do is I want to go back to the Tournament of Power. So the end of every month, I take all of the decks that are submitted by subs and patrons through my Discord, and I take them through a Tournament of Power thing is what I call it. So we take every deck, we roll them off at random, and if they win, then they're safe for that round. And if they lose, then what happens is it goes into a round of voting where chat can decide if they are eliminated, if they go through sudden death, or if they're saved. And we have decided to get down to one final deck through that system, and that was a deck submitted by RookieBob. It is an FTP control list. RookieBob wanted to give some shoutouts to Kamado, who originally did the first list of this. I think that they tweaked it a bit, but I'm not 100% certain. Kamado puts out a lot of lists and is a very, very good player. But it's a kind of traditional FTP control list. The fun thing is that right now you might see in the actual meta, you're going to be seeing a lot of like Yetis, you're going to be seeing a lot of even Paladins or just Argenport. You might be seeing some Praxis and some Ixten as well. You haven't really seen any FTP for a little while, and the FTP that we have seen hasn't had Moment of Creation. So we're back to Moment of Creation, which I love. So we've managed to get Garden of Omens and a Moment of Creation into the same deck, and we're pumping those all together to just have a whole ton of power. So the idea is very much a traditional FTP control list, and it's just to have like a few units here and there, mostly to get a lot of value out of market shenanigans. So, you know, Jotun, Hurler, and Zoe, both very, very good as market cards because, of course, they make a second card. So you can market the Zoe or market the Hurler or market the Snowball or the Treasure Trove. Generally, you don't do that, but you can trade all of those away into your market and still have another card in your hand. So you're not really, like, you're getting a bunch of extra value by getting a card that you don't really care about. One half of these you generally don't care of. And you can just throw it away into your market and get something that does matter. So that's obviously a core of a lot of these style of control decks. This one goes a little more interesting because, of course, it has the new Garden of Omens, which has just been incredibly busted. There's a fair number of attachments that have been going around. So, like, I've actually been seeing, for some reason, I've been seeing a fair bit of Avercraft recently. So Meltdown is kind of useful. It's obviously good against things like Obelisk. Then we have Ice Bolt, which manages to kill a lot of different units that are being played right now, whether it's like Zumikins or Heart of the Vault or just regular like Mokto style cards or Hojins, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's not a lot that survives 7 damage to the face. On top of that, you can resurface so you can get anything that you want. Most of the time in this deck, it's going to be that Moment of Creation. And so another thing to note, by the way, out of the sites, is that you do get, if you manage to get it to stick around for a little while, you get 3 spells out of it. So that alone is going to pump up Moment of Creation a lot. So you're going to use Garden of Omens to get a bunch of different value things out of that. We've got all of these as our market shenanigans, so we can throw them away with our Aurelian Merchant. You'll notice that there's one way for us to get Zoes back. A lot of these decks will try and like jump Zoe back and forth in and out of the market. Like they'll have something more along the lines of a Howling Peak Smuggler. This one doesn't have that. We're not like looking to get Zoe back out of the market. Zoe will be a finisher for us, and in the meantime, it'll just be a way for us to get Treasure Trove and a new card and something out of our market. So it's still incredible value because you're basically drawing cards for free when you get the Zoe and then you just market it away. But it's still like just a thing to keep in mind that once you tuck Zoe into your market, you can't get it back out. Same with Jotun Hurler. Although obviously it's a lot less important for a 5-cost 3/3 than it is for our 8-cost 6/6 dragon with flying and a bunch of extra abilities. We have then a ton of spells, 34 of them. We've got Seek Powers to make all of the mana base work. We've got our Torches and Equivocates, Ice Bolts because we just want to have as many of those as possible. It's a very powerful card. Like I said, it's kind of one of the few hard removal spells almost that this style of deck has. You don't really get anything else that just kills essentially everything that goes on in the current ranked meta. We've got Strategizes as a card draw, Display of Instinct, because it's just probably the linchpin of pretty much any of these SCP lists. the ability to negate a spell or deal damage as the two main modes that you use it for, although very, very occasionally you will pull a unit back. But that flexibility of being able to play either side of things is huge. We've got Hailstorm to wipe out things like Yetis if they get a really nice early lead. Same with, again, even Argenport is definitely a problem there. Like, they can slam a bunch of Hojins and things like that. We've got Wisdom of the Elders as extra card draw. Same with Honor of the Claws. And then, of course, those Moment of Creations as our endgame. Then we have a kind of regular power base, a couple of crests. We have a bunch of seats because we are actually running a fair number of just regular sigils, and we have those seek powers to find them. So it's going to be fairly easy for us to get the seats. Normally banners are a little bit better, but we only have 12 units. So we're going to run seats in this list. And then last but not least, our markets. We have Dissociate, so we can stop other big opposing spells, whether that's Channel from the new Ixtun decks, or if we need to get rid of like a Harsh Rule or a targeted removal on a Zoe, things like that. So we've got Dissociate for that. We have, or to return another, like, Xenon Obelisk in the middle of nowhere. We also have Equivocate, so Equivocate just being a really nice way to get rid of kind of problematic cards. You don't see them a lot currently at the top of the ladder, but like a Mokto or a Rost, stuff like that, that's kind of just obnoxious to have to keep answering. You can just get rid of it forever. Obviously, Cirso's Choice is just another way to deal with a wide board, so the same kind of thing as Yeti decks, but it's a nice way to pull it out of the market, and so that's really nice there. We've got Saber-Tooth Prideleader, which is such a beast against so many decks right now. I love this card. Ambush has really started to hit its stride where it's getting scary. There's too many things that people can be holding up, and in a deck like this, like we've got Display of Instinct, we've got Wisdom, we've got Ice Bolts and Equivocates and Torches. You never know if we've just suddenly got a Saber-Tooth Prideleader, and then you can just nuke a Xenon Obelisk mid-combat and throw a block in. It's kind of awesome. And then obviously a last moment of creation, because this is really our finisher. We can get them up to like 16-16, 20-20 quite easily in this deck. There's just so many spells, and when you have the sights as well, it's really, really big. For people that don't know, if like when you use Garden of Omens and you get Tamaris online, kind of the ultimate combo, and the reason why we have Zoe, is that if you actually manage to stick Zoe for a little while, for example, by countering anything that targets it with a Display of Instinct, then when you manage to get all those treasure troves, you can just play them for free. So that happens sometimes, and it's very disgusting. So that's one of the things that we really want to try and set up, is like getting a Zoe swing when we have a Garden of Omens out, because the treasure troves become so incredibly cheap, or even just straight up free, that there's not a lot that people are going to be able to do to stop that. Alright, so this is our deck. We're going to run it through a quick gauntlet of 5 different games. And thank you all so much again, like I said, for tuning into this. I know that we haven't been doing as much Eternal content recently, just because summer's very busy for me. I am a wedding photographer as my other job, and weddings are obviously done in the summer. I'm in Canada, so that's been part of it. But then also just the fact that there's not been a lot to really go over in the meta. There's not a lot of changes recently, so I've kind of gone through a lot of our decks. That's going to change, though, because we have Set 7 releasing right away. Flame of Azalta is coming out, so I appreciate your patience. Big thanks to all the subs and patrons who took part in the tournament. We had about, like, 50 different decks or something that were involved in this. It was fantastic. And because of all that support, we're going to be doing a Ice Dog Sandwich. Yeah. So I put myself up to this, and I said if we got enough subs during September that I would do this. I'm going to be putting it on YouTube so you can find it here. I want to do a full video on it and make it right. I have a lot of nice cameras, so we're going to actually have like a real script and shoot a whole thing, and I'll do almost like a little cooking show and go over how I make it, and then I'll eat it. So thank you all so much. And of course, big shout out to inkgaming.com, where I'm affiliated. I used to be sponsored, but they've kind of dropped some of that, but I still have my store with them, and they've just been always fantastic. They do a lot of support for the charity streams that I do, and they've always been super helpful, and their products are fantastic. I don't sell out to a lot of places, but Inkgaming is fantastic. If you want to check out like playmats or mouse pads or dice bags or even t-shirts and hoodies now, you can go and check out my Inkgaming store. It's down below, and it all helps me out there as well. So I will see you for the games, and we'll be right back.